Perfect. I'll make sure you welcome back to the Action Autism podcast. Welcome back to our segment on Mind Matters. I'm one of your hosts, Arshia Singh, a rising senior at Dublin High School, with my co-host Anvesha Bhagat, a rising junior at Academy Math, Science, and Engineering. And today we're honored to be joined by a very special guest, Martin Slyngstad. Martin is a passionate autism advocate, speaker, and creative mind who's been making waves through his powerful voice in the neurodivergent community.
Thank
As
you for
someone
having.
As someone who is deeply committed to creating a more inclusive world for autistic individuals, through Action Autism, our nonprofit, everything we've learned from listening to the community, it's such an honor to have Martin on the podcast today. His journey of self-advocacy, creative expression, and speaking up for what matters truly aligns perfectly with our mission here. We're genuinely really excited to hear what you have to say today.
Ah, thank you. Thank you very much. So, as you all know, my name is Martin. I am a business owner, public speaker, Special Olympics athlete, award-winning disability advocate here in San Jose, California, and I am also a DJ. I make my own music. I do so many things, and I also write a book.
That's crazy. It's really impressive.
Thank you.
So, getting right into the questions, can you tell us a bit about your journey growing up with autism?
Definitely. I'll start before I was officially diagnosed with autism in 95. I spent the first 4 years not being able to say a single word. So I was nonverbal, and it took about a year before I could say my first words. And the great thing is, to this day, I still keep in touch with my speech therapist, Michelle Winter. Shout out to her. And um, after the autism diagnosis through Stanford, it took me a while to accept my diagnosis because back then autism really wasn't understood, and the autism rate was, I believe, 1 in 144, and it took me a while to really accept myself. And um, childhood was a little difficult because it really wasn't a whole lot of support, but I used all that negativity from like bullying from teachers and peers to where I am today, being a wonderful advocate for the community, helping bring more acceptance because now is the time that acceptance is needed more than ever.
Mhm. That's wonderful. You talk about your childhood. So would you say there was any like specific moment in your childhood that really shaped your identity the most?
That's a good question. I have a really good memory, but for some reason I'm not remembering the moment. I guess I would say that from childhood, I would say fighting through all the negativity back then from like, teachers not supporting me and everything, and just fighting through everything to help me push to where I am today. Was it easy? Absolutely not. It wasn't, but something inside of me told me, keep pushing, keep pushing. There will be a day where things will get better. And so I kept on pushing.
Hmm. As you talk about your teachers, what was navigating school like for you, both academically and socially?
School was definitely hard. Um, I was kind of like the odd person out, the one who really didn't or wasn't invited into groups. And if I did, I was the one that did most of the work. But yeah, socially it was tough too. I do struggle with large groups sometimes. So that's why I didn't really go to any of the dances. But I would say navigating was a little difficult because for some of us, we need more time to transition from each grade period. So, like middle school to high school, I feel like if given more of a transitional period, I think it would make things so much easier.
Hmm. Were there any like standout teachers or mentors who supported you along the way?
Yes, and I remember this one specifically. I forget what grade it was, but her name was Mrs. Jones, and she was actually one of the first teachers that really understood me and helped me get through the school year, helped me with the homework assignments and everything, and I really can't thank her enough.
Well,
That's
that's
wonderful.
wonderful.
It's always like the teachers that, that really help you the most that have that valuable memory.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you talk about being a business owner. Can you tell us a little bit more about Spire Autism and its mission?
Definitely. So with Spire Autism, what I do is I train first responders how to approach us during an emergency. And then I help build sensory rooms, create sensory bags for sports teams, and then um, the biggest thing that I do is to really train teachers how to teach autistic students and students with disability during the school year because it can get really hectic. And the way that I see it is because we're not allowed to stim most of the time in classrooms. It's like when Mentos and Diet Coke kind of connect to get that really like combustible like explosion of anxiety. And so I trained them on how to be patient and ways to help support the students with disabilities.
Mhm.
And and then what else? There was one more. I always forget that. There's always one more that I forget. It'll get back to me. I think it'll get back to me later in this later during this recording.
No problem. Is there like kind of a specific impact that you have made through Spire Autism that you're really proud of?
I would say that there's some proud moments. I would say some of the biggest ones was actually last week where I trained Napa Search and Rescue, where I taught them like how to approach people with disabilities that are missing. And um, I did a mock search because I wanted search and rescue to know how to approach somebody in duress. I yes, I did get into a real life panic, but I did that because I wanted them to show you like, hey, this is what we're gonna feel. And I, after giving them some pointers, one of the captains of the search and rescue said, you're like a true leader for the disability community. And that was amazing. And then the second biggest I would say was being named Disability Advocate of the Year last year here in San Jose. Those are some of the biggest accomplishments I would say.
That's that's amazing. Um, what message do you want to leave your audiences with at your events?
Um, what to leave with the Vents, I would say, you know, never give up hope. Let no one dim your light. You have what it takes to be incredible people and keep on shining bright. There may be roadblocks that happen, but just keep on fighting and know that everything will be okay and that you have a wonderful support system, whether you see it or not.
Mhm. How do you adjust your talks for different groups of people?
So, what I do is I reach out to wherever I'm speaking at and I ask them, like, hey, is there anything specific you would like for me to talk about? And so, what I do is I curate my talks to make sure that fits with the specific theme. And I'd give you a quick example. I usually talk about um, hope for students with disabilities, but I recently was invited to speak at a school for all 800 students, and I had to change it to specifically to talk about supporting your autistic peers during the school days and to help it make that more help the students with disabilities feel more welcomed and not feel left out. So it took a little bit of time to do the editing, but it turned out really, really well.
Very nice. So, kind of shifting the conversation to a recent podcast episode that you did with AUDHD, me and Mo, you said your way of thinking is valid. Obviously, there's like a bunch of different interpretations of this, but to you personally, what does that statement really mean?
To me, that statement really means that however we think, we shouldn't be reprimanded for it. And I would say, and I had the note written down here. Um, when we have these thoughts and thinking of what we're saying, we shouldn't be made fun of. We shouldn't get in trouble only because it's like for some of us, we think how we feel. And yes, there is times where it may not seem like the right time, but it's like that's how some of our autistic brains work. We think more differently than others, and there shouldn't be anything wrong with that.
Right. Yeah, totally. And so, how can society kind of better affirm and respect those neurodivergent thinking styles, would you say?
I would say that's a good question, and I'm gonna be honest, I really never thought of that yet, but I would say a way to respect us is by accepting how we think, because our way of thinking is sort of like an outside of the box approach, if that makes sense. Hopefully, hopefully that makes sense.
No, yeah, I understood what that meant.
Perfect.
Moving on to our next question. Why do you think so many autistic individuals feel invisible or misunderstood in everyday spaces?
We feel misunderstood because autism is such a misunderstood, or even neurodivergency itself is misunderstood because there's so many times where even self-diagnosis people would think that it's all in our heads. And try not to get too controversial here, but it's like I don't know where I'm going with this. So um this is kind of like how my brain is interpreting the question. Because of all the stigma and the misdiagnosis and everything, a lot of people really think that it's not, or that it's all in her head, but it's not. And the problem with this, you got so many healthcare places that are misdiagnosing like, oh, it's just anxiety and anxiety, but the difficult part is they don't really focus on other things like how our body reacts to certain things or how our brain interprets anything. And it's like there's just so much going on to this day, and I really hope that there will be a day where we are accepted for who we are without judgment, where we don't have to go and work thinking, are we going to get bullied today? And also, like, if we go to school, like, not wake up heading to class thinking, are we going to be misunderstood again? And it's like there's so much going on, and I really want people to understand that, you know,
Mhm.
you truly deserve to be accepted and be ourselves without having to mask.
Yes, of course. Kind of narrowing down from society, how would you say schools or families can create environments where autistic people are uplifted?
That's a great question. And I recommend having rooms for students who get too overwhelmed, almost like a quiet room,
Mhm.
where the room is not too bright. I mean, because some of us have difficult sensitivity to light, and having like a quiet space for us to de-stress before having to continue the school day, and having little activities in there, whether it be like a like a coloring book to help calm our brain down, or even having things like a sensory blanket or beanbag to help. Because for some of us, we calm down by feeling heavy things on us, like a weighted blanket. And by doing that, it can really help us get back into, or help us feel regulated again and keep on going through the school day. And I really can't stress that enough for schools to have rooms like that. It can really, really help those that need it the most.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah, I really like that. So just to clarify, you would say having kind of a separate room where children can go during when they feel kind of, what was it, like they feel really stressed out or they feel kind of anxious.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I could give a quick example. Me and my mom actually did this in middle school, and it was, I mean, we weren't able to get access to it until during lunchtime, of course. And, during lunchtime, most of us are alone, not being able to talk to anybody. Some of us get made fun of. And so we talked with the school, and one of the special ed teachers decided to open up the room and have like a little game area for us to hang out and kind of de-stress and chill and everything. And fast forward to near the end of the semester, everybody really enjoyed it. And even the people that didn't have disabilities got word of it. They started joining us, and they started really getting to understand the us special ed students better. And they were like, you know what, we or these kids aren't as bad as we thought. They just really wanted to find some people to be with. And I guess to this day it's still going.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, in addition to these rooms, what would you say are some other like sensory friendly spaces that we could like implement and that would really help?
Um, some friendly spaces would be classrooms that have adjustable lighting. Absolutely adjustable lighting, because, like you said earlier, for some of us, we are too sensitive to light, and that could cause like overstimulation and can cause meltdowns. And I do want to emphasize that we don't mean to have these meltdowns. It's just when a teacher would ask us like, "Hey, why are you so upset?" or like they get upset because we're causing a distraction. We don't mean it. We're just trying to convey how our brain is feeling, but we're not able to. And so by utilizing lights that can dim if needed can really, really be beneficial.
Right. Okay. So, in addition, like kind of like at a personal level, but something that like individuals can just do day by day when interacting with people with autism, what would you say that like allies can do to help these people feel seen without kind of it being performative or like tokenizing?
Definitely. A really good way to start would be just like a simple hello, like, hey, how you doing? And then after maybe a couple times of that, then you could approach us and be like asking what their favorite thing they like to talk about is. And by doing that can help us feel more like, hey, somebody really, really wants to talk to us and really get to know more about us. And by doing that, they will feel more comfortable. And you may not know that they have a disability because most of the time we are good at hiding it with quote unquote masking. But by doing that, talking about their favorite subjects can really, really show like, hey, these are just people that really want to be seen and understood and not bullied.
Yeah. And so, in your experience, what have been like some small, authentic actions that have really made a difference for you?
What I've done first is this kind of starts before school. Like what helped me is listening to my music, kind of coloring in a coloring book, and then kind of positive affirmations like, today's going to be a good day. I know people are going to understand me. And by using those positive affirmations, we would be able to we would be able to really get through the day and really feel comfortable for people to walk up to us and say like, hey, tell us more about yourself, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So moving on to our next question. How do you feel autism is portrayed in social media?
Autism is portrayed, it's kind of a mixed bag, I'm going to admit. Um, for some, that's that's a tough one because most of the times when I followed some with social media, I had to unfollow because most of the time they're saying, autism is a burden. Like people think that autistic people are a burden to others and that they don't deserve to be accepted. And then on the other hand, there's autistics like us that try our best to show, like, hey, we are not a burden. We are just people that really want to be accepted by others, that don't want to feel bullied, and to really be welcomed in society. So there's some I'm not going to mention because don't want to, I kind of don't want to give them power, but there's some influencers that were like, yeah, autism is a bad thing, and they said that one way to really help their child is to drink bleach. That didn't work out. The parents really thought that their children were going to be better from autism, but that didn't work out. And it's like, where do these influencers get the idea that, like, hey, drinking bleach can help? It doesn't. And it's like, it gets so hard trying to really explain, like, autism isn't a bad thing, but for some others still think that it is. And it's like, in today's society, it's not really as accepted. But the problem is the autism rate, or it's not a problem, but the autism rate is on the rise. Here in California, the autism rate is 1 in 20. I know a lot of people don't know why, but it's like now more than ever, we have to stand up and be there for those people with disabilities because they're the next generation, and we just got to really step up and help them because they deserve to feel seen and understood, not just not just like not like we're bad people. And it's tough. I'm just thinking about it, it gets a little tough, but I'm not going to give up the fight. Is
Mhm.
it going to be easy? No, it's not going to be easy, but I just got to do what I can to really help others understand autism and show like, hey, we're just regular human beings.
That's amazing. Kind of shifting the gears a little bit, how does your daily life look like?
So my daily life, I would say wake up in the morning, going for the walk, going to the gym to prepare for the Special Olympics season. And then after that, if it's during a school semester, I would prepare for the school day, get through a few hours of class, and then head straight to work. And then after work, just de-stress a little bit, work on some blogs on my website, and prepare some speeches if I have an upcoming speech. And then maybe going to a sporting event or a concert, depending.
That's
Very nice. What are some like of your favorite ways to de-stress or like your favorite artist or sports team?
Oh, definitely my favorite way of de-stressing is going to the gym because it like helps me like when I get really stressed out from the day, I'm always able to lift heavier weights easier. And then also because I'm a big sports fan, I always going to different sporting events because I'm able to that are like me, which now I remember what I also do Aspire. I also work on creating events for the autism community called Autism Acceptance Nights. And I, what Spire does is I collaborate with different sports teams and then I tell them, hey, like to really, you know, work on bringing autistic people out to the games, not or like keeping the goal horn down and everything. And so I connect with other nonprofits and invite them out and help them get known as well to like thousands of people. And I have about 4 to 5 acceptance nights coming up in Seattle, San Jose, Nashville, Salt Lake City, and Colorado. So I've got a lot, but it's really great that we're able to start seeing more autistic kids come out to the games and really enjoy themselves with the reduction of like the music and the goal horns and everything. It's been great to see.
that's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea of like the acceptance nights. I think it's really innovative. Um, so kind of wrapping up, what final message would you say that you would like our listeners to walk away with?
Definitely. And I actually have part of my from my speech here that I wrote. So I'll just kind of leave it with this message here. The future belongs to those who are willing to create it. Let's build a world where difference is not just tolerated but embraced, where accommodations are standard, not special. Where neurodivergent individuals are not just included, they are leaders, innovators, artists, engineers, parents, and storytellers. Every possibility that exists in a neurotypical life must also exist for the autistic community because anything less is unacceptable. So, for everyone listening to this, keep going, keep believing, keep loving with your whole heart. Whether your journey is just beginning or has been unfolding for years, you are a vital thread in this tapestry of transformation. You are not alone. You are not invisible. You are not without power. This is not the end of a story. It's the beginning of a better one. One where acceptance is unconditional, where difference is celebrated, where hope doesn't whisper but roars. And in this new story, the autism community leads the way. So keep fighting and let no one dim your light.
That's beautifully said.
Thank you.
We're really thankful you took our time and to talk to us today and share your story. And to everyone listening, let us this be a reminder to learn more about autism, but also to actually see and appreciate autistic people for who they are. Because if there's one thing we've learned today, it's that there's no single way or the right way to think or feel. It's what our different perspectives is what makes us all unique. This concludes our episode for today. Thank you for watching. And thank you for your time here.
Okay, perfect. I think we're done with the interview.